the bottom of the hour, my NFL crew is working. Did you read the new article on ESPN.com yesterday? Fascinating details about the fallout of the failed Maxx Crosby deal to the Ravens, outlining the Ravens' long-term durability concerns about a degenerative issue in Crosby's knee. Despite the Ravens' concerns, teams continue to check in on Crosby's availability, but the Raiders' asking price remains high. Now, Baltimore beat out the Cowboys for Crosby, but it wasn't for lack of trying on Dallas's part. Reportedly, they made 3 offers. The first was a second-round pick at number 20, plus Osa Odighizuwa. The second was their top first-round pick at number 12 and a third-rounder. Then their final offer was their number 12 pick and a second-rounder. Obviously, of course, Baltimore eventually went to 2-1s. The trade got made. The trade got called off. Now he's back in Vegas, and we see what happens. I want a little insight here from the two of you with your unique perspective. First of all, Mike T., if you're, as the general manager, if you're the Raiders now, are you still looking to move Maxx Crosby? And we saw in the story, they're asking price remains high. How do you do that when everyone now views him as damaged goods?
You absolutely do. You'd rather trade a player too soon, Greeny, than too late. In 2 to 3 years, that knee's not going to be better. It's going to be 3 years older. And what you worry about it, presumptively, if it's Fernando Mendoza, this team is building for 2 to 3 years down the road. I think they had a really good offseason. So I think the most value you're going to get for him is right now. I would do it before the draft. I've suggested this in the past. I would use conditional picks, meaning a pick this year and then a pick next year based on how much he plays and how much he produces.
Right. And again, the concern doesn't seem to be short term.
Correct.
Meaning the expectation is he'll be back and play real well this year, maybe another year. The question is whether he has 4 or 5 more years left in those knees. Then to my insider here, Kmart, you're canvassing the league. You're talking to everyone. Do the people inside the league still expect him to get traded?
Yes. It's a matter of... The big question is when. It doesn't seem like if he'll get traded. Because think about it. Even though the Raiders had said the whole time, we're not moving on. Like, Max is a Raider. Guess what they did? They traded Maxx Crosby. And they also traded him and then made a bunch of moves, spent a lot of money to upgrade the roster with certain pieces, thinking that Maxx Crosby was off the books. So we have a long offseason. It could go until the trade deadline. It could go until the draft. But a lot of people expect him to not be a Raider for much longer.
So then we get back to the Cowboys because they, in the story, again, as I just read through, they made pretty aggressive offers for Maxx Crosby, knowing everything we know now. Should the Cowboys get right back in that business?
Yeah, I think they should. I think there should be a handful of teams that should be in that conversation. I know it's changed, at least in comparison to pre-Baltimore trade. Max was, I want out, at least had said, I want to leave Las Vegas. I think Max has come out and said, I don't want to leave now. So does that change it all? But if you guys could put the graphic back up of what Dallas was offering.
Yeah.
Would you, if you're Dallas, the second and third offer, don't those have to be in conversation now? If you're the Cowboys, would you now sit there and go, specifically the third or that second offer, first round pick and the third round for next year or this year? Is that a fair value, Mike T? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
If you're the Cowboys and you're offering it then.
Is that a lot to give up for a player now that another team has walked away from this deal? I'm not. Which side are you asking?
From both parties. If you're the Cowboys, are you rethinking making that same offer? And if you're the Raiders, would you accept that?
Yeah, I think that's close to what I had suggested. One was it was a 2 this year and a 2 next year, and the 2 could become a 1. So it's in the ballpark. Look, Dallas is probably saying, I don't want to give up the 12th pick in the draft if I worry about where he's going to be in 3 years. My pushback to that is no certainty that your first-round pick is going to be on your team in 3 years.
What if it's the 20th pick, right? Because Dallas has 12 and 20.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's definitely some ways you can certainly flip some picks, like 20 and I think they're 36 in the second round. So there is definitely a landing spot, even though you have Rashawn Gary, you have Donovan Ezeraku. If I'm Dallas, because I was so bad, this is an opportunity that they need to take advantage of.
Yeah, and I also would say this in regards to Dallas. Jerry Jones has rightfully come out and said, playoff caliber, championship caliber offense. That means, at least in his mind, he has a win now offense. I don't think that Jerry Jones should be thinking about what potentially Maxx Crosby's health is going to be like in 2030 if he makes this first-round pick trade. It's, wait, can I get a person who's a difference maker on third down right now? I would also put the Eagles in that conversation. I will just reiterate the point. Howie Roseman, their general manager, is notorious for taking or getting value on the market. Saquon Barkley was cheaper than he should have been. Landon Dickerson went later in the draft than he should have. Jalen Carter went later in the draft than he should have because their value had decreased. This just feels like a Howie Roseman type of situation eventually.
When we talk about the immediacy, this stat from Hembo, Maxx Crosby is going to be 29 years old this season. But since entering in 2019, Maxx Crosby has played nearly 1,000 more edge snaps than any player in the NFL. So there's a lot of wear on those tires outside of the knee. This is the immediate window of he can help you right now.
Give me a final word.
Yeah, going back to Dan's point, go back to the trade for A.J. Brown. Like, Philadelphia took advantage of a situation. They had to move on from him in Tennessee. They drafted Treylon Burks. That didn't work out. I could see maybe a draft day trade, something along those lines, later in the first, top of the second.
All right, so keep a close eye on Maxx Crosby. That'll be an interesting show. Which brings...
All right, now to the NFL, where we are less than a month away from the 2026 NFL Draft. Latest mock from Mel Kiper Jr. Fernando Mendoza projected to go #1 overall to the Raiders. Makes a lot of sense. Guy won the Heisman Trophy and a national championship with Indiana. Pretty good bullets on the resume. Most people consider him the top QB prospect in the draft for those very reasons. Most people, that is. Not everybody.
I think Ty Simpson is QB1. I think Ty Simpson is the best quarterback in this class. I think when you look at the body of work and what was asked of these two quarterbacks, you have to start with the question, who needed to do more to carry their football team to play well? Ty Simpson, and it's not close between those two quarterbacks.
Fernando Mendoza's at 1 on my board. Ty Simpson's at 25. You say, why? Fernando Mendoza's nearly 4 inches taller than Ty Simpson, 25 pounds heavier, 35 starts compared to 15, which is a risky, dangerous number for Ty. Then you think about 72% completion percentage to 64, right? 7 rushing touchdowns to 2. And the fact that he had 5 fumbles over a 7-game period, Ty Simpson, 5 fumbles lost, 6 total for the year.
All right, the man who made the claim that QB1 is Ty Simpson in this NFL draft, joining us now. He's NFL analyst and former NFL quarterback, Dan Orlovsky. So, Dan, we heard you kind of start to defend yourself in that soundbite there, but expand on it. After watching the tape of both these prospects, why is it that Simpson is your QB1?
Yeah, I just think it's a tape versus traits thing, Ty. Like, the tape for Ty Simpson, when I watch it, there's just so many examples of him making NFL throws on NFL time, double post in the red zone. You have to play on time, and the ball's got to be put on the receiver's face mask. That's big time. That's NFL coverage windows right there. And then the ability to operate at the line of scrimmage, know what the answer is to the problem. He sees pressure off of his right. Watch him. He's going to change the play at the line of scrimmage now. Now pay attention to Georgia defensively. They're then going to change their defense. And now Ty Simpson's like, okay, perfect. I'm going to throw an out route to the bottom of the screen. They're playing man coverage at 3rd and 5. He's going to once again change the play. This is control, ownership at the line. The thing is, pay attention to Georgia. They're now then going to change their defense as well. I mentioned he wanted to throw a little out route at the bottom of the screen. But Georgia's not playing man anymore. They're playing zone defense. Safety goes to the half of the field. The corner's going to sit right there. If he throws the out route, it's an interception. He has to then once again read the defense, change on the fly, and rip the whole shot. I just think that's an example of how really good quarterbacks in the NFL have to play, and he does that. And so I think Fernando Mendoza is a good player. I just think the tape for Ty Simpson is better.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to point out that Dak Prescott, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, few, if any, consider them the best QB in their class. So, you know, different strokes for different folks. Tell McAfee to punt a football, by the way.
How about Phil Yates? He dropped his latest mock draft yesterday morning. He has 4 Ohio State players going consecutively at picks 3 through 6. Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, and Carnell Tate. So, Dan, which of these players do you expect will have the biggest immediate impact at the next level in the NFL?
Yeah, Caleb Downs, I'll start with him. I just believe right now defensively in the NFL, versatility is a really big deal. From an offensive perspective, when you have a defensive player that can kind of do everything that he does, it's just difficult to game plan. Where are they? How can we create matchups away from him? He's outstanding as a tackler. He's physical at the point of contact. He can play 10 out of 11 positions on the defensive side of the football, and he's just unbelievably versatile. Think Kyle Hamilton from the Baltimore Ravens, and then I'll go Carnell Tate as a wide receiver. I do think it's fair to question, can he carry the load as that number one wide receiver? Because Jeremiah Smith, who's going to be a top 2 or 3 pick next year, was opposite him. He's got a little George Pickens to me. This long, rangy, go get the ball while it's in the air athlete. He doesn't necessarily completely run by people, but I look at the New York Giants at 5, maybe the Washington Commanders, the New Orleans Saints, and the ability to put a player out there and just for a confident quarterback or confidence from a quarterback, I trust this guy to go find the football in the air and make a play on it. I think those 2 players have the chance to be pretty impactful early on.
We'll get to see both Ohio State and Alabama have their pro days later today. Thanks for waking up with us, Dan.